Hello, everybody. This is Aaron from Sound Resolution.
And I'm Marcus.
And here we are looking at gameplay for multiple games. I think we have like 5 or 6. I don't know. But here we are with our first. I'm calling it a podcast, although that may not be what it is. It's kind of our first video, what we've wanted to do on this channel of really discussing topics. And as you can tell by the title, it is Xbox One versus PS4. And, we can't really tell what's actually going to work or not work. Or for the consoles at least, we can't tell what's going to be, what console is truly better right now, obviously. So all we can talk about is how the companies have positioned themselves, which I think is clearly, I think the first thing I'll say is both of them have done pretty much two opposite things, I would say.
I would say so.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go right off the bat. Let's talk about PS4 actually first.
Yeah, they've played it pretty safe, in my opinion. They've focused on gaming, which good or bad, give or take.
Yeah.
While Microsoft has kind of done the all-in-one, which leads to its name, Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So you could tell, obviously at E3, they were pushing this idea that this can be your all-in-one system. It can be, everything it needs to be. It can be your music player. It can play movies, any movie you want. Well, they haven't gone too in-depth about movies and music yet, but that it can even be your TV. TV. For anybody that knows that video, that is a great video. But here we are, kind of left unsure, to be honest, of Xbox One. That's really, they went out on a limb to try to, I would say they're definitely more appealing to casual people who aren't even gamers. So that, I think, is an interesting plan initially.
For sure.
And as you said, PS4 is totally geared towards gaming, which is the safe route because, that's what we do. We play video games. So, and I think it's really good. I think they've come out and done what they needed to do. And although it's not really a bad thing that they've done this at all. But it is definitely, it's what we wanted here. And everybody is kind of putting PS4 on a pedestal. But to be honest, this is kind of what we expected, in my opinion. This was kind of what we expected from both of them, to be honest, was to do something like PS4 to show good power in their console, clearly more powerful than the Xbox One. Everybody can agree on that. How much more, to be honest, it probably doesn't mean much as you go down the line because technology just increases exponentially, to be honest, in performance. So it'll be negligible in the future, just kind of like the Xbox 360 and the PS3 was. PS3 definitely packed a little bit more juice, had definitely a little bit more better graphic in their games, and I think personally.
Well, with the games that were like cross-platform, it really wasn't much difference in terms of graphics.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Really, you could only notice the graphics a little bit more when it was an exclusive.
That's true. Yeah, the exclusives looked really good, and actually, on the flip side, their multi-platform games actually didn't perform very well sometimes. Namely, Bethesda. Yeah, Bethesda's games. And there were a few other games. I think GTA and Red Dead didn't play as well. I mean, most multi-platform games didn't play as well or just didn't feel as smooth. Frame rates were often lower. I think the one multi-platform game I remember playing better was probably PS3 on the Battlefield. That was the only one I noticed personally. Multi-platform, but otherwise kind of sketch. And then honestly, so I don't think this power thing is going to be a huge difference. Obviously, PlayStation 4 has an edge. That's always a positive. That can't not possibly a negative for them. So definitely, PS4 gets that.
Yeah.
Obviously, what they do with it, though, is the most important thing.
For sure.
Which they don't have a great record of having, completely amazing games come out consistently. In my opinion, they have great games. They do. They have very solid games across their board. But to be honest, it was all really in the last, I'd say, 3 years truly, where we started to see multiple games come out that were really good for it. So they're kind of in this spurt mode, and it'll be interesting, obviously, to see what Naughty Dog does off of The Last of Us, if, what they're going to do, because they just finished a game. So that's going to be interesting if they're going to be down the development cycle, to be honest, which obviously would make sense. So pretty safe overall from Sony. I think they've done everything they needed to do to get pre-orders, to be honest. And you look at those pre-order numbers, and it's like 2-to-1, kind of everywhere. And I think that's completely unsurprising. I'm not floored at all. you and I mostly are Xbox people for the most part over this last generation, and by mostly I mean almost entirely.
Pretty much.
And I'm happy that PS4 has come out and done some things that they've done. They've played it safe. They showed some games. Killzone didn't look good, but they've shown them some other games that are interesting. Obviously, I'm interested from Quantic, the people who made Heavy Rain. I'm interested to see what they're doing because I think they have a real chance of making another great game. So PlayStation 4 definitely has a lot of things going for them.
When you look at their marketing, you can tell that they definitely tried taking advantage of Microsoft's little squander at E3.
Yes.
So, and they also tried taking advantage of Microsoft using the always online. So,
yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, of course, they have reversed those positions Microsoft has, at least, of their quote unquote DRM attempt, and it's we'll get to that one in a bit. Obviously, that's probably the most interesting thing to talk about. But going back to Sony, they changed their controller, but not really. It's the same controller. Xbox changed their controller a little bit more, and to be honest, I thought the Xbox controller, me personally, obviously there's a huge amount of preference here, but to be honest, objectively, if you try to look at it objectively, I think most people prefer the Xbox controller. That doesn't mean, or think it's better, I should say, but that doesn't mean you can't prefer the PlayStation controller because that's what you've always played with. But to be honest, I think most people are in agreement where Xbox has the better controller. So for PlayStation to not change it at all, nearly, I was a little sort of confused. They did fix their triggers, so it's actually sort of easier to grab them instead of them curving down back away from the controller. They made them sort of more like the Xbox 360s, where it's definitely easier. You can't slip as much. So that was kind of the one main change I think they made. And then obviously they have a back touch, almost like what Motorola was doing with their phones, where you can touch something on the back and control the screen. So that's also interesting. Kind of weird. I don't know how much that's gonna be used.
Yeah, this is EU4 or Europa Universalis 4. I imported the save from Crusader Kings 2, which is leads up to Europa Universalis 4. So
very similar games.
Yeah, I was playing as Prussia, so they're really the only European country left. The Muslims have taken over Spain and a large part of Italy and France. Bulgaria is big, and Byzantines are doing pretty good. So.
Yeah, so we'll be popping this in. We'll take a look at it every so often during this video. It's kind of sprinkled throughout over what's going on. So as you can see, he has his menu pulled up over his diplomacy view of Prussia, and so.
Also, Germany owns a little bit of England there. It's quite special.
Yeah, they do. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, but back to the controller. Xbox One, they did change the controller a little bit. Obviously, it's still very much similar to their controller.
Yes.
I've obviously grown very accustomed to it, and this, of course, is, as many of you know, Dota 2, kind of the hit phenomenon on the PC. It's been around forever, Dota has, but I even played it back in roughly 2007. I would actually play, I had a lot of Korean friends. I would actually play with them the mod Dota 1. So, pretty cool stuff. I never actually really got into it, or until really just a few months ago, to be honest. So we are horrible. So if you're expecting any good gameplay, I am deeply sorry. I don't know what else to say for you, but here we are. We decided to throw it in because we played pretty well, and we think it's a very popular game to throw in the background. Pretty solid. So the controllers, I think you have to give Xbox the edge. Obviously, there's a ton of preference there, so that one's kind of subjective.
Well, I personally always like the Xbox controller simply because I have bigger than, or I should say longer hands, so I feel like my hands always crowded with PS3 controllers.
Yeah.
So.
And with the way I put my thumbs on the joystick, I have kind of where the joint is on the thumbstick, and so whenever I would go right on the left stick and left on the right stick, and it never really worked for me. I would collide my thumbs because of the way I have my thumbs put. So for me, for that reason, even though I don't have very large hands, as we took out Ursa there, that was nice. Even though I don't have large hands, I still prefer the Xbox controller. So yeah, games though we haven't really seen a ton that's impressed me, to be honest. I haven't seen one game look terribly next gen-y, to be honest. Like it doesn't look like a next gen game. Yet we've seen trailers, we've seen cutscenes, we've seen things that look really cool. But really, to be honest, a lot of it seems staged. Obviously, you can't really take a lot of this stuff for granted. And to be honest, I don't want to say we'll be disappointed, but I think people should temper their expectations of immediate launch, like a quality of games. I mean, I don't think we can really be fair.
Yeah, even when you look at the games from this generation's at launch, they look okay, but now they just kind of look pretty crappy.
Yeah, exactly. They do look bad. So I think, obviously they'll look good, I think. That's clear as Viper dies. By the way, I'm playing as Windrunner. It's just my perspective. You're playing as Anti-Mage farming on the top lane.
Yes.
And this was a really fun game. But, so the games, I think, are kind of negligible. You can look at current franchises and sort of judge how they're going to go. Halo's kind of in question for Xbox, in my opinion.
Yes.
Halo 4, while though a very good game in some ways, I still think it kind of hurt in a lot of the multiplayer aspects. It's not the hit it was with Halo 3, and everybody kind of acts like Halo 4 is Halo 3, and even better almost, and it just isn't. And I think the numbers show that. There's still Call of Duty's numbers are way up, and when Halo 3 was out, to be honest, Halo 3's numbers on the Xbox were higher than at that time was COD 4 on the Xbox, and so. Halo's kind of in question, obviously because it's a different studio than, Bungie, 343. And it's kind of, one of our favorite franchises of all time easily, I think. You can look at Forza. Forza should be excellent. They should be able to capitalize on all the physics and the AI, all that stuff. And I was able to get a really nice power shot off right here to be able to pick off Rubik. So, very nice thing about Windrunner is her chasing ability. So that was nice. And then I kind of run into Leshrac here and totally died because I wasn't very smart. And actually, because Ursa dove for Viper, I should have just cut left, go up the river. But I came back into lane, not smart, died to Leshrac. So that was my bad. But I think this, the way Xbox has marketed themselves, it's so long. It's a long-term thing. They definitely, I think, to be honest, they have to understand they're not going to win pre-orders.
No.
They're not going to win maybe even initial yearly sales, over the first 2 years even. But to be honest, what they can do is they improve their features and improve the console and all these things that they're doing. That was really poorly spaced by us, but as we all get stunned.
That was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that was bad. But as we look at the consoles, I thought you had way less mana there too when you mana avoided them. But oh well. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to tell what games are going to be successful. Obviously, Naughty Dog, their game is kind of on going to be a little bit on the back burner, considering they just came out The Last of Us. Yeah. Ursa tries to dive us here with the DD rune, and, it's extremely questionable. He has Aegis, so,
I don't think he was ready for Drow's slow.
Yeah, I don't think he factored in. We have two characters that can really slow, so running away from us isn't an option, to be honest, in this lineup. It was actually a fairly decent team comp, even though we have 3 hard carries, which is never advisable. But
hey, it's a pub game.
It is a pub game. Who cares? So I think that's sort of, I haven't seen any games. We see all these trailers. We see what we can do. And there I shackle 2 creeps because I'm cool and I don't want to use it on an enemy hero. So that was pretty bad. Spectacular fail. Leshrac gets a nice stun. But he comes back pretty dumb, to be honest. He wanted to kill, but Drow did a good job of backing off at the last second, even though, to be honest, they probably should have gotten her there. So I think...
Well, with the Xbox One, we know what we're getting in the PlayStation 4, but to be honest, it's kind of like a Pandora's box with the Xbox One. Whatever could just happen.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Is we don't know. Xbox One is the one with the most unknowns. The one where we don't know where is it just going to be, are those features that they're talking about, these TV, these movies, are they not going to really mean much? Nobody really capitalizes on them. And then they're going to put out, they will put out good games eventually. That just will happen. Both consoles will. But is PS4 just going to have that huge game advantage? Then are they going to have that in with the gaming market? and that's kind of the interesting thing is Microsoft going to set themselves up for failure here if they don't do a good job of doing what they're trying to do, which is an all-in-one system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
This.
So Xbox One, definitely risky beyond belief here. And it's the one where, let's talk about the always online thing.
Yes.
The always online thing, that was what it was rumored as, was always online at first. And then it became the 24-hour babysitter check-in system.
Yes.
Which was a clear way that they could obviously, keep down piracy and things like that, because a lot of people how can you pirate Xbox games or anything like that? Well, I lived in China and there was fake Xboxes and fake games everywhere, so to be honest, that would really prohibit a lot of what they do in other countries. US, you don't see it as much, but definitely possible. I mean, there are people.
All you have to do is just mod your console
yes,
to begin
exactly.
with. So one of my friends has a modded console and he can download any game he wants, even before release.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
It's definitely out there. You just have to go out and dig out.
Yeah.
Or just Google it. It's easy.
And obviously those things aren't good for the industry, of course. No. And you can understand why they'd want to, minimize it, but this 24-hour check-in system made very little sense to me. It was a clear, quote-unquote, as we call it, DRM, which is sort of an invasion of our ability to enjoy our media. It's not really free. We kind of have to use it at their whim, which is obviously, definitely not in the consumers, not the benefit of the consumer. So that was pretty interesting. But what I thought would make the most sense, and I thought this was what they were going to do, when they said they were going to go always online, that rumor, it made so much sense to me that they could do an always online system. Like, if they had it be always online, there's a lot of things they can do from a network standpoint. They can do things really quickly. They can do updates really fast. They can constantly be adding these new features. But that wasn't what it was. It was this 24-hour check-in system where you do get some of that. You get some of the ability to do updates at certain time frames. But, it's not as much of a benefit. And obviously, though, they're also trying to appeal to publishers. I think a large amount of people don't realize why they did it. It's not really it is for Microsoft's best interest, but it was really for the developers. The devs were more likely to be honest, to make something.
They could just continuously upgrade on the fly. Exactly.
They could continuously upgrade on the fly, and to be honest, their stuff's protected. I mean, that always the DRM is great for them, and a lot of them won't admit that. And to be honest, I know people who are making Titanfall Respawn, they were actually pretty excited about the 24-hour thing. Because of things they could do, and to be honest, they were disappointed. Along with Forza, they were also disappointed that those things. They said their games aren't going to be as good, and you have to wonder how much of that is just them being angry they didn't get it. And obviously, we're going to win the game here. We took out Rax. We're going to move on to this other tower. They're all kind of dead. So this was a fun game, good game. But yeah, going back to the Xbox thing, it was so weird. And then the fact that they reversed it, I thought kind of led to the fact that they clearly didn't understand that there was going to be so much backlash, which to me is even more weird. Like, how did they not know that this was going to make many people upset? To me, it wasn't a huge deal because I understand some of the benefits of going that route. But at the same time, it was just weird that they kind of went with the way that was less benefit. It would be more cost, obviously, to do an always online system, and I just fountain dive with Windrun because I'm cool that way. And that was kind of mean to me. But it's so interesting because then they reversed it. So clearly they had no clue this was going to be a problem. Which that's weird.
It's just really weird. So anyway, I don't even really know anyone who's not online most of the time.
Yeah,
to begin with.
I agree.
So yeah, there could be power outages and that could be fun, but that doesn't really.
I'm used to those, yeah.
So,
yeah, and I mean, to be honest, you have to look at the percentage of people who are playing their console offline. To be honest, I can't imagine it's that huge. They must have done market study on this. I mean, clearly, if half the people were not online, they wouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. There are obviously people who aren't, who are, maybe in motion all the time, going from city to city or something like that. But to be honest, you have to say the average person. I mean, they have to be online all the time. So for that that argument where, it's awful that these people who can't get online all the time, aren't going to be able to play their console.
It's a very small minority.
It's got to be a small minority. I mean, that's kind of the weird part. So I'd say, that's kind of weird, and here we are. Back with CK.
Russia annexed several states, so they became a lot bigger. What else happened? I don't think much else besides Russia getting a little bit bigger. Let's see. I know that what's left of France is in war with the... What is it? I can't read that. Whatever. Some Arabic country. And I think Prussia's in that war too, so we help France get a little bit back in form. And Scotland is being annexed by Ireland or something. Mm-hmm. Or Ireland, whatever that is.
Yeah. So, I'd say, to be honest, when you look at the marketing, I think PlayStation has done a good job marketing themselves to a certain audience, but I think when you look at marketing in general, you'd have to say Microsoft has the advantage just because they've continuously done well marketing their phones, marketing their tablet, marketing their, Windows. They've done, they are Microsoft. Everybody knows Microsoft. So marketing-wise, I would still think that, down the line, Microsoft's going to have that edge. And that's kind of the big reason why I think if they can pitch themselves well to the people who aren't pure gamers, why they actually should have more long-term success. When it happens is kind of, up in the air. But if they do everything they need to do, it actually could be very successful. Right. And that's the one thing where I think people are overlooking is clearly, I think, there's a lot of questionable things that they did. It's just a very strange. I don't feel like they were very coordinated in what they were doing. I don't think they understood a lot of things going on in terms of the culture of gaming. And I think at Gamescom and PAX, they did a good job of kind of bringing some games to the forefront a little bit more. It's kind of hard to talk about specific games just because we haven't seen much. Really, the only game I've seen a good amount of, and I can feel like I can judge it a little, is Titanfall. I think that game looks phenomenal. I think it's the one game that does look very next-gen-y. And here we are playing NBA 2K. Just a quick pickup match between the Clippers and the Grizzlies here. And I'm the Clippers.
And I'm the Grizzlies.
Yes.
Fast defense.
Yep, it is. So games, I don't know. I just kind of want to stay away from the games because you never know how they are. I mean, it's like these consoles. We can't judge these games. And while Sony has put out better games, I would say over the last 2 years in terms of single-player experiences, for sure, absolutely. We don't know what's going to happen with this next generation because, to be honest, in 2009, I'm not even sure the console race was close. I mean, I think Xbox 360 had a very huge lead. Talking about sales and everything, and then sort of 2009 was that time frame it started kind of flipping the script for Sony, and that's kind of when they got back, and that was actually an impressive pass. Anyways, I'm surprised Marcus Gasol missed that right there.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
it's 2K.
It's 2K, easy buckets all the time.
Yes.
So I'd say that sort of, the consoles are just in an odd position for Xbox's sort of point of view. And
well, they've been pushing the all-in-one
yes,
thing, so.
The all-in-one, and to be honest, to what extent is that? We don't know. Obviously, they've said, you can do TVs, you can do movies, you can do whatever, but we haven't really seen those features listed out. What does that mean? What sort of access do we have? Do we have to have certain providers for the TV? Do we have to have, I would assume we'd have to have certain providers for the TV, but what is the availability for that? And there's some information out, but to be honest, there's a lot of misinformation or no information at all about a lot of these features. And that's kind of what worries me. And to be honest, one feature that has completely annoyed me that Microsoft has repeatedly pushed, and they keep shoving on the dashboard, they keep shoving it everywhere, is their music. Their music marketplaces have been horrible. There was Windows Marketplace, there was Zune. I think it's now Microsoft. I don't even know what it's called now. I haven't even checked, to be honest, because I couldn't care less.
It's like I use iTunes, so it's like I don't really have any need to have another one. So
yeah, exactly.
And then at that point, it's just personal preference. But since I grew up using iTunes, this is what I'm going to use. So. Yeah.
And to be honest, iTunes is kind of the easiest one. I also use iTunes, and that's one of the things. Obviously, it's Microsoft and Apple. It'll never happen. But I thought something very they could have done to surprise people, and I think would have helped them a lot is if they had iTunes integration in their console. Obviously, this would probably never happen for political reasons. You know, if that happened, to be honest, I you know, that's kind of hard to say then at that point which one would be successful, because if you can hook up your Xbox to sort of this speaker system and sort of all this, it can be everything, then that's very appealing to a lot of people where they don't have all these boxes, they don't have all these cords, they don't have, you know, they might not even want multiple TVs at that point for certain functions. So that's kind of that's the thing, is how well is this gonna, you know, go? And that was an amazing shot. I don't know how you hit that, the leaning layup. That's
Jared Bayless too on top of that.
Yeah. Oh man, this game. I'm now remembering this game. Oh man, this was a great game. But it was entertaining, at least, in terms of what happened. And here I am just kind of abusing Jamal Crawford.
Jamal Crawford, geez.
Yeah, so I think PlayStation 4, it looks good. I mean, it looks fun. It looks kind of what we expected the next gen to be. And Microsoft is kind of, you know, just kind of confused everybody, kind of good and bad. They're trying something new, and you have to give them credit for at least trying to do something new. Obviously, it's not what a lot of us want, which is hardcore games. Really great single-player experiences, really different multiplayer experiences, which is something we've been hugely lacking. I'm more of a multiplayer person myself, and to be honest, the multiplayer selection, which is actually a huge reason why I pretty much mostly play a lot of PC games, and I occasionally play, you know, Call of Duty and stuff on this channel. Actually, I mostly play Call of Duty on this channel because it was just something I just played all the time. Since really, you know, I played Call of Duty 1, yeah. I mean, yeah, well, there's COD 4, but we even played Call of Duty before then.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what we do on this channel. We play games, we talk about them, and that's kind of what we're here doing, talking about these consoles. And as we said before, there's really no right answer right now about what's going to be better. Obviously, I think PS4 has the edge among people like us. I think it looks better, but this is the most interesting thing, is both of us are having a very hard time saying, you know, we're going to buy a PS4 because, like, our friends, our family who play,
they're always on Xbox.
They're always on Xbox. That's the thing, and it's very smart. It's almost like Microsoft has us pinned, but not really. It's kind of, you know, our friends, our family, the network, Xbox Live, and that's kind of been Microsoft's huge advantage all the time. It's been Xbox Live, and PlayStation Network has made leaps and bounds of improvement ever since the launch of PlayStation 3, but so is Xbox. I mean...
Yeah, Xbox Live is, like, even though you pay, I still think it's a phenomenal service.
Yeah, you pay, and now you have to pay for PS4. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting that... that was always something people always heralded in the early days of PlayStation 3. Oh, I don't have to... PlayStation 3, that is, oh, I don't have to pay. And so now that that's kind of gone, and to be honest, I think it's a safe bet. Just like saying Sony's probably going to have maybe a few key games better. Obviously, Titanfall only on the Xbox is pretty big. Or at least I should say could be pretty big. Again, we don't know how it's going to be. It could be bad, you know, but it does look great. So what does Sony really have up their sleeve? They've had better games. They have a little bit more power. They're cheaper. They're $100 cheaper, which was a huge thing at E3. I thought that was pretty hilarious. You know what Sony must have been thinking when my Xbox announced their price. Yeah. And they knew their price, obviously, already. So they must have been really excited before they announced that. But
yeah, a lot of people are like pushing, like, just pull out the Kinect and just sell it $100 cheaper. But,
yeah.
Like, there could be some cool possibilities with Kinect, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there could be cool possibilities. It could be Microsoft being just obstinate and they're being like, you know, you're going to have Kinect whether you like it or not. Could be that.
Yeah.
But, you know, there could be cool things. Something that you and I talked about just recently was, I think it was oh my gosh, when was it? I can't remember what it was, but 1 versus 100.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest features of Xbox Live in its whole Xbox 360 lifespan. Yeah. Was 1 versus 100. The ability to play literally against everybody all at the same time at set times with a real host. Like, the guy was actually, like, narrating with his Xbox avatar, and everybody had their Xbox avatar sitting in the 1 versus 100 crowd. Real people got to be picked. Real prizes were given out for free. And it was one of the coolest experiences ever, and it's just so weird we haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's just been like a month after they canceled season 2.
Yeah.
So.
It was an experiment. It was like a technical experiment. It was a very big experiment to have all these people doing the same thing at the same time with kind of this live broadcast style with real prizes, all these things. It was very ambitious, very cool. It's kind of Microsoft at its best when they're doing that kind of innovation. And that's kind of why I always have a hard time counting them out. Even, I don't love the fact that their phones and their, tablets are all this One OS, Windows 8, all this stuff. But they are very, very good about developing their stuff. Like, eventually, over time, even if you don't like it, there was a lot of things that people didn't like about the Xbox 360 in the beginning. And they're saying, it's a crap console. This is, it's not about gaming. It's all this stuff. And it turned out to be a very, very strong console, obviously. And obviously, there's a lot of debate over which one had the better life cycle. I think, in general, you can say Xbox 360 definitely had the stronger early first half of the generation, and then PlayStation probably had the stronger last half of the generation. With their exclusives, and same thing with Microsoft. To be honest, Halo kind of won them. The early part, really.
It's like Fable was a big franchise, and then it's a joke, really. It's a joke. But it's like Fable 2 was okay, and then Fable 3 was just.
Fable 2 is still pretty bad, though. The only reason we can say Fable 2 is okay is because Fable 3 was so bad.
Yeah,
At the time of Fable 2, we were like, this is horrible. And then, Fable 3 was even worse. So now we're like, oh, Fable 2 is okay. Yes. But that was a heck of a play by you, by the way, in 2K right there. Yes. But it's one of those things where Fable was just... I'm not sure I've ever seen a franchise fall faster off the map than that. I mean, from 1 to 2 to 3, it's such a steep decline.
Yeah,
I think they can be, funny, enjoyable experiences for a little bit, but it's
before you get reminded that Fable 1 was such a great game.
Yeah, it was, and you kind of see this same thing. All of Microsoft's franchises have kind of gone downhill, except for Forza, which is by far the best racing game. I don't think there's a question.
No. PS3. Or Sony, I'll just say Sony fanboys will say Gran Turismo, but...
They will, yeah, and Gran Turismo has some good things, but to be honest, I think there was only one Gran Turismo game this whole generation for them. So, and it didn't show well. It didn't show great, I should say. It sold tremendously well. I think it sold over 10 million units. It was actually the highest selling PlayStation game, I believe it or not. I think it was. It was top 5 at least. I was just looking at the sales stats, and it's kind of interesting. You look at games like Uncharted and stuff; they actually don't sell tremendously well, which is very interesting. All of Microsoft's big exclusives, obviously there was more players during some of the cycles, but Microsoft's games are actually selling at higher units, which was interesting considering how critically acclaimed and how much everybody really does love, the Uncharted series and those kinds of games. So that's kind of an interesting little side note on the last generation. About how sales kind of ended up, and it's so weird. The console sales were relatively even. Now, obviously, there was some changes throughout the whole race, but it's just kind of, I can't believe Griffin just hit that shot, by the way. But
that was
you were pretty upset. You were pretty upset. I don't blame you.
That was very distressing.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of, it's so weird because as we were talking, Microsoft's franchises just haven't done well recently, and they've kind of been doubling down on Call of Duty as their go-to thing. Like, they get all their DLC a month early. But to be honest, even as myself, as a fairly, I won't say I play Call of Duty a ton anymore, but when I did, to be honest, the early DLC didn't really mean much to me. I mean, I don't get how that's a big draw unless they did DLC exclusivity. Then it'd be a big deal.
I think one game that kind of flew under the radar for Microsoft was Alan Wake, to be honest.
Oh, that was a very good game. I love that game.
I don't think it's talked enough, to be honest.
That's a good point.
Exclusives.
Yeah.
So.
And everybody loves to point out Uncharted, sort of the flagship game. But to be honest, in my opinion, there were some stronger games, in my opinion. I thought, at least for me, I'm very interested in very different gameplay experiences. That's kind of my thing. I prefer things that play really weird, play different. I enjoyed, playing Catherine. I thought that was actually a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Little Big Planet. I thought that was actually probably my favorite game of that generation, of that for Sony at least. I thought the game was...
It had limitless potential.
Yes.
Simply because it was driven by the community with the level creation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, or you could just bomb around and check out the different levels, which was
yep.
fun in itself. Or you,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
Little Big Planet was my favorite PlayStation game as well. So
yeah.
It was the one I kept going back to.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, when I beat Uncharted, I didn't really feel like any need to go back to it. So
yeah, exactly. It's an action adventure game. It's not you know, it's kind of sometimes a lot of games, I shouldn't say, it's not just Uncharted, but a lot of games are mislabeled as RPGs. That's an action adventure game. And, you know, I think you can play it's like Zelda for me. For me, Zelda is it is my all-time favorite franchise. And I play, to be honest, each game every few years or so. And for me, that's kind of how Uncharted struck me. It's a game you can play once, maybe twice, depending on, you know, your personality type and, you know, whether you want to go in and get everything again or you blitz through it. And so here we are playing FIFA now. I think this was a horrendous game.
Yeah, it was.
It was so bad. In terms of just how we played it, pretty rotten play from us. Early break here. So I picked Real Madrid, and then you decided you wanted the defense, I believe.
Yeah, Spain.
You wanted Spain, so obviously not a bad choice if you're looking for defense. But, you know, run right there, not so good, unfortunately for me.
That's a beautiful through volley.
Oh, man, look out, man. And I kind of deserved that one with Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, well, I squandered it here, so.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yep. Spoiler, yeah. You're going to make it from here.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was confident I was going to hit that.
Oh, yeah. Confidence is everything in video games. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. But, you know, it's kind of funny to see. Microsoft believes they're smarter than everybody. It's kind of that Apple thing.
They do.
They believe they know what people want more than what people actually know what they want. Like, they think they're smarter than you. And to be honest, it's paid off. I don't know what I'm doing there. That was actually not that bad. But it's paid off for them before. The Xbox 360, obviously, they were pushing Xbox Live. People were like, this is stupid. A lot of people, I should say. And then there's always the people who are, you know, anything new, they'll praise. Anything, you know, old, they'll praise. You know, there's people of both sides. New, they'll praise, or old, they'll praise. So, obviously, though, this is a situation where I think most people are on board with Sony on this one. But Microsoft has this belief they're smarter than everybody else. They know what you want, even though you may not want it. It's kind of like Apple, in my opinion. Apple does a very similar thing. Oh, wow. That was close. I forgot how close that was.
But in some ways, I almost think that Microsoft should have just, like, told people, no, you're gonna suck it up and buy our console and just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
Like,
if they did that, to be honest, their console still sells. I mean, people are still going to buy it. That's the thing. It's like you and I, like, even though we're talking about this and, you know, we have some criticisms. I have a lot of criticisms of PlayStation in general. I thought, for me, Xbox One, but obviously there's a lot of preference. I'm a huge shooter fan. I'm a huge multiplayer fan. So obviously they had more of those in the beginning and kind of near the end too, a little bit, in my opinion. But at the same time, you know, you and I are torn on the fence, and that just shows how much Sony has done right, to be honest. Oh my gosh.
Shoved into the ground.
Oof. Yep. It happens, whatever. You can suck it up.
Oh no, Ronaldo.
So here we are looking at tactical free kicks, apparently, because I've never played this game, apparently, which is weird. So here I am, call fake, darn, and I totally shanked it there. Oh well. But yeah, I mean, Sony's played it safe. That's why they're winning the pre-orders, I think, because people are just more likely going to pre-order a safe bet. And the Xbox One, I don't think people... There are obviously some just total trolls who are just going to completely count it out. You can't count it out because it's Microsoft. Just like if Sony looked horrible in the beginning and did what Microsoft did, you can't count them out. You can just say one looks better than the other. But, you know, the fact that we're even discussing this, that we would buy PlayStation first, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind we both owned Xboxes and PlayStation 3s during this life cycle. So we'll get both eventually. I mean, we'll eventually do that, of course. But which one we're getting first? Because to be honest, you know, especially with us playing so many PC games now, it's kind of hard to justify buying two consoles, right? Within a week of each other. Also weird. Microsoft choosing second on their release date and then choosing to go after Sony.
Yeah.
I'm not.
They like the 360. They pushed to be out first.
Yeah, they wanted it. That was a huge deal for them as being first, and obviously it worked to an extent.
It did get them a little sales, but
it did.
There was just so many red rings.
Red Ring of Death. Yes, the ROD. Oh man, that I never got that actually.
Personally,
not once.
My console was like a freaking Frankenstein. It refused to die from the Red Rings of Death. I'm not kidding. They had 3 of them.
Yeah.
And it worked. So I don't know what happened. It was just destined to be special, apparently.
Yeah. And it was this really weird engineering thing. They came up with this X clip. It was the thing that held, I think it was the CPU and the fan down. It was this idea they had this X holding it down, and it didn't do a good job at all. And it was really weird. It was just, I don't know what the engineering department must have been thinking if they just thought it was cool, and it's it's the Xbox with the X clip.
Well, it could have been
I don't know. It's very weird.
Maybe they just kind of went on the cheaper.
Mm-hmm. It could be, yeah. That actually is a huge potential because holding it down any other way would be more expensive. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It could be cheaper. But
just got lazy too. So
that's true. It could be. Yeah. I mean, we don't know that decision. That was a very odd decision. I remember when I opened up my Xbox, I had 2 consoles personally throughout. I think we had some others in the family at some point. I can't remember, to be honest. It was kind of a while ago. But I had 2. One kind of broke just in general, but to be honest, 2 over the generation I wasn't too surprised with. I wasn't too unhappy with. But it's kind of funny that you and I never had problems with it. We always read about it. People were showing it. We totally believe all the statistics. That even a lot of Microsoft sales are probably because of the Red Ring of Death. A lot of them probably are actually the console sales. It's just weird that it never happened to us. And
well, it's you hear about people oh, I'm on my 5th console.
Yeah, I know, that's just crazy. I feel like that.
At that point, I would just buy a PC. At that point, to be honest, what is that, $2,000 worth of consoles just alone?
Yeah, exactly. That's just crazy.
And you could just use that money to buy a PC, which you could just continually upgrade.
Yep.
Over the years.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's also some of those stories, some people are totally BSing because they just want to slam Xbox. But at the same time, if you legitimately are getting that many, I feel like there has to be something, maybe the environment. I mean, there has to be something. I mean, to get that many in a row, I'm sure there are people who legitimately got that many in a row because there was such a large percentage. The odds are probably a few people just struck out amazingly hard. And depending on if certain ones had certain manufacturing problems, certain areas may have more as well. So there's all these statistics and odds we could just go through all day. But as you can see, we're in extra time and we don't have a goal because we're so awesome at this game. And oh my gosh, when I get a golden opportunity, don't get it. And then I knock your goalie over for a foul, which I deserved, or at least attempted to knock him over. So yeah, just it's.
I think I accidentally picked the golden goal or whatever.
Yes, that was what we picked.
Instead of the traditional
extra time.
2 halves.
Yeah. An injury here, and we decided we're gonna strategize. Actually, both of us decided to do some swaps. I believe. I think we both did. Yeah, we did.
I put in
Ronaldo getting balled on right there. Man.
He had a hurdle, but whatever, he can get the ball.
Unfortunately, couldn't keep
and
the full momentum.
The chip in, whatever you want to call it.
Cross, I guess, it's sort of a cross. It's not really, but
I was trying to chip it over.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep.
Too much power?
Too much. Oh well.
And he had another golden opportunity.
Oh, I don't even know how many I had.
Goodness.
Yeah, I remember that.
By rights, we should have won outright.
Probably.
They should not have gone to overtime.
I think I had more shots for sure in this game. I think I did a little bit better on possession as well, even though it was 50-50 at half, I think. But yeah, so this was very intense game because we couldn't score. It was actually even more intense than in a high-scoring game, to be honest, where you could expect a goal.
My favorite part of it. No, there's no PK yet.
No PK yet. It is 2 halves.
I was really hoping you just cut that out entirely.
Oh, you know I couldn't do that to them.
It was special.
Yeah, it was great.
It really was.
You guys will see. It'll be good. But yeah, so, you know, just the release date thing, just strange for Microsoft considering they did value going so hard. But obviously there's a lot of different leadership now, to be honest, of Xbox than last time. People are in different places, just, you know, different management. So going after, I'm not sure what the thought process is, to be honest, because the problem, I don't know, like, I can't even think of it. Oh my gosh.
No.
This is tremendous play. And here I do. I actually have a nice little break going. I think I make the... Yeah, I do that. Yep. That was awful. Awful. Okay. But the release date thing, I mean, I don't know why they did that, because it's not like earlier is always better, but like even going later doesn't make a lot of sense, because some people's influences might be that impulsive buyer. There's a ton of them. I mean, we're gamers. We're like, to be honest, most of us are impulsive buyers. We're like, oh, we gotta have this game, you know. You see a trailer, a pre-order, you know.
Or like on Steam, it's like a sale. Oh, gotta buy it.
Yeah, you gotta buy it, even though you don't know anything about the game or anything. Yeah. You know, we're so impulsive that there's going to be a lot of sales for whoever goes first. And the fact that Xbox is already behind in sales, to essentially, they're willing to concede it. So clearly they are very confident that they're going to get this. And here's the PK. Shoot out. Oh boy. Oh boy. So tense. So tense. Oof. And you freeze. Deer in headlights.
Yeah, I know. No, I was like being,
you know what?
I was being like, definition of idiotic here. I was like trying to use the left stick to dive or whatever, and it was just the right stick.
Yeah.
So,
well, it was funny because you actually do it in one of the things, and he still didn't dive. That was actually, you did it right one time. I was watching your controller. I wasn't cheating.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, I was cheating. I was cheating. All right, I'll just say I'm cheating. And then, you know, you were doing it right. I don't know why it didn't work. That was kind of funny. Well, funny for me.
I'm just
not so funny
say
for you.
rigged the controller beforehand.
Yeah, your PK shooting itself was no problem. Your goalieing, if you will, was
spectacular.
Spectacular, yes. Oh man.
Oh man. Well,
it was unfortunate because I knew you were struggling with it, so I just kept putting it to the side. So.
Wow. Thank you for putting me out of my misery.
Yep. And there it was. The end. I went on PKs on a horribly offensively executed game of FIFA.
I wonder what, like, what if that ever happened in real life, what Spain would think.
Oh,
losing
yeah.
to a team inside their own country.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It'd be hilarious. I'd want to watch
it. It would be.
Oh, you can see that France formed.
Yes.
Awesome. Or not really, if you're a hater of France.
That's true.
Poland is kind of just straight up weird. It's just like this freaking line all the way.
Yeah. All the way up near Russia. Oof. That's weird.
And then Byzantine kind of got more of that Black Sea area, whatever.
Yep.
It split the Seljuks in half, essentially.
Yeah, they kind of have that part, like a little bit of Greece, a little bit of Italy.
And North Ireland, or Ireland, took over Scotland a bit.
Wow. It's actually changed quite a bit on this one.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah. And Prussia took over a little bit of Denmark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yep, they did. Wow. That's rough for Denmark. They don't really have a lot of options. Yeah. That is rough. Wow. But yeah, and it's also funny as people have started playing the PC, as we're getting to the end of this video, of this discussion. Obviously, we want to hear what you guys have to say, and I hope you guys are punching in these comments. And what we're trying to do here is we're not trying to start a fanboy war. All we can talk about is what they've done so far. We can't really tell what's going to be good, what's going to be bad. So we're here to start discussions, what you guys like, what you don't like. I was actually kind of, as I've stated, I was kind of pro always online. I thought it would actually be very interesting if we tried that.
I just think it would be a great tool for developers.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
It has potential to do that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Potential, of course, is the key word. And so the fact that Xbox is going to be more of a traditional console now, which is not a bad thing for most people, I just thought it would have been interesting. You know, I always want to see new things. In the video game market, we see so much repetitive, so much safe play. especially among the the last few years. I think many games have played it safe. The Call of Duties, the Assassin's Creeds, where they start pumping out these yearly games, and they play it safe, and people can enjoy them, and they know what to expect, and they get their sales. A lot of people are happy, but at the same time, innovation is just slow, and I just love all the crazy things about video games. I love seeing new physics systems. I love seeing new gameplay ideas. I love seeing new genres. That's why we're playing Dota 2. It's completely different than anything we've ever played.
It's a great game.
It is a great game. I've loved it so far. Obviously, there's some complaints about the community, and completely justified.
Yeah, some of them are justified. Others are just kind of like fountain diving repeatedly with Wisp to another teammate is a bit of a dick move, but
to get him killed. Yeah.
It's still entertaining just to watch to see your teammate rage or the other guy rage.
That's not cool.
No, it's not cool, but it's humorous after.
It is, well after.
Yeah. Well, after you vent.
And in an all pick, it's one thing. In an all pick is, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like the standard kind of game mode. What you would jump into, like I would liken it to TDM of Call of Duty. Kind of the standard game mode. You can be whatever, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
But here I am. This is actually, I opened up the game with the last 2/3 of the second game. This is actually the first game I was playing. I think. Oh my gosh, I think I got that mixed up. Actually, I think it's the other way around. Oh well. Whatever,
it's footage.
It is footage. It's COD footage, me playing COD. If you guys want to hear my comments about COD, I'm actually extremely critical of this franchise. I'm critical of every game. Like, I still, I mean, I have problems with games people deem perfect. That's just kind of me. I always
really
nitpick.
Impossible, so.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think a perfect game is possible. I even, for me, the Halo 3 for me was a very, very close, but then even then they didn't have a sustainable option outside of their, out of their multiplayer. But obviously that's kind of what they do. That's what they do great. That's what Bungie does great. So there's that. And Destiny, also kind of a side tangent. Haven't really heard a lot about it ever since their E3 presentation. Also didn't look good at E3. I mean, it looked, cool. It looked sci-fi. It kind of actually looked a lot like Halo in terms of their engine. Actually looked very similar, which is cool, to be honest, in my opinion. I think that's good, just because it works so well. It did look refined, but to be honest, it wasn't spectacular.
Like their lead character or whatever, the poster child just reminded me of the Fallout New Vegas NCR Rangers. So I keep thinking of that for some reason, but it looks good. Or some.
Yeah, it looks good, but that's not what we expect from Bungie. We expect amazing.
Yeah, amazing games.
We do. And so, we'll see how it goes. And to be honest, there's a ton they're probably not showing. And so to judge it this quickly is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
In Bungie, we trust. So,
yes.
Which they're going now to all consoles, which is probably a good thing. And Sony also struck, as we're talking about these DLC deals, as Microsoft has doubled down on COD and Battlefield on that. Sony bet on essentially on Bungie, which is not a bad bet. With some of their DLC exclusivity, I don't know the extent of it. I don't think we really know the extent of it, at least yet. But that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, here we are. I play Call of Duty. I'm critical of it, as I said. I'm very critical of it. I do still enjoy playing it occasionally. I really don't actually play it all that much. I only play it for my videos and very rarely, with my friends. Just because it's a game that has disappointed me time and time again over the years of not changing, of making the game, boiled down, stuff like that. You guys watch my videos, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I have one where I talk about the most recent conference. I have a ton. Why Call of Duty maps suck. I still enjoy playing the game. I still think there are good things about it. For everybody who says Call of Duty is all bad, that's not true. I'm highly critical of the game, but there are good things it does. You can't deny that, otherwise it wouldn't sell. Still, so here we are. Round 1 worked well for us. I do actually think this is the first game. I am very confident this is the first game, now that I can see that scoreboard. And here I am, pulling up the guide, trying to get back into chat. Also, big thing, huge reason, as we bring this up,
so that I love.
Yeah, the party chat. Very weird. It was a rumor. Obviously, I don't think we know. It hasn't been confirmed. But Sony's not. It's. I mean, I hate to say this because it is a rumor, but the fact that PS3 had no party chat system, and the fact that there's a report that PS4 has no party chat system, just weird to me. Like, how is that? so many of my friends, like half my friends, are always in party.
Yeah.
And so, like, if that's true, you know what? And if not, if this is true, Sony fans, I wouldn't be that worried. I would imagine it's going to be a patch in, very, a feature, because people are going to complain about it, that people are migrating over from Xbox to PlayStation. They're going to complain about it. But, on the HUD, it looked like there was somebody who said, like, they thought they saw something that was like a party chat thing, but then, like, somebody said it wasn't functional. All these, all these crazy rumors, of course.
And Xbox is trying to add 8-player same console.
Local, yeah, 8-player local.
That could be interesting. I don't
very
know,
cool.
Like I don't know how that would work with Call of Duty with 8 little miniature screens on the TV.
Yeah, you could also think maybe. Obviously, the GPU would come in question, but maybe dual TVs.
Dual TVs.
I can do that with my PC. I mean, it's it's a possibility. We have that clue.
Yes.
But all this stuff is kind of conjecture, just like we're doing here. We can't tell which one's going to be better. We've said it, I don't know how many times. We cannot tell.
And to judge it this early is just kind of ludicrous. Yeah, sure, like,
oh my gosh, that was
something.
awful.
Oh my goodness, what are you doing?
Oh, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I think he died, and I actually don't know he died because I was like waiting for him to come out. I'm still thinking like he's here. And like,
I think your teammates just mowed him down.
He did. Yeah, they did. And I didn't have the general map awareness to realize that. I'm usually pretty good at awareness.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're pretty. I feel like we're fairly balanced in our views in terms of being critical and being positive at the same time. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Man, I'm picking bad fights there.
Well, with the 360, like, I knew I was gonna buy the Xbox 360 just so I could play Halo 3. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there was really no game franchise that kind of set up for the next generation, if you will.
Yeah.
So, like,
that's true for either console.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point. We don't really have like one killer game right now.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Xbox One had Halo 2.
Yeah.
I wasn't really that much of a Sony fan at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was like 10 years old.
But we're like imagining things like amazing Final Fantasy games. That's kind of what we're looking at when we're looking at Sony. Which Final Fantasy kind of, I won't say completely off a cliff, but clearly they've disappointed. They haven't been as good.
Yeah.
Although their MMO just came out. I can't believe I haven't, at least looked into it yet. I probably will. But also, the most interesting game, though, actually, the most polarizing one, we'll get to it in another video, to be honest. We have so much to talk about. It is The Elder Scrolls Online.
Yes.
That's just another discussion.
Entirely.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about PlayStation versus Xbox, and something I could see myself doing is not buying either, to be honest. At the end of the day, on November 22nd, on November 23rd, I don't have either. That would not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a PC. I love it. You and I have really started. You have always kind of dabbled in PC gaming, at least a little. I've always dabbled less than you, but we're pretty much full PC gamers at this point, to be honest.
I would say
roughly.
So.
I mean, I still enjoy playing some console games with my friends and stuff. I still think they're enjoyable.
You can just do so much with a PC, though.
You can just do so much. I love being able to just flip through my browser, my iTunes, pop back into my game, unpause it. I just love being able to swap through everything so fast. It's so nice. Yeah. But, as PC gamers, we might not even buy it. That's kind of also an indictment against both consoles. Like, we're not really that pumped for them.
Yeah.
Like, I think they are going to be great platforms. A lot of people are saying it's too early for these consoles. I actually could agree somewhat. I think there are some benefits to going a little bit later.
Yeah, but in some ways, this generation has felt like it's dragged down a little bit.
That's true. You know what? And I think that's just because of bad innovation on...
Yeah.
I shouldn't say bad innovation. I just say not as much innovation from developers.
So it's like with the last year and a half, I would say there's not been like a whole lot of games that have been psyched coming out for consoles.
Yeah.
So they could just be like prepping for the new generation, which is good, but it just kind of made the time pass by slowly in some ways.
But at the end of the day, we may not even buy them. We may buy both. We may only buy one in the very beginning. Obviously, we will eventually probably have both. But that's what we do here at Sound Resolution. We talk about games. We're talking about, obviously, the next-gen consoles. We try to break it down as fairly as possible. Obviously, everybody has their preferences and their subjectivity, and that's, we definitely bring some of ours into the conversation, as we have throughout even this video. But we try to break it down as fairly as possible and don't try to get too wound up about certain things. Not trying to start a fanboy war, all that stuff. So we hope you guys enjoyed the video, all the gameplay, all that stuff. And I'm Aaron.
I'm Marcus.
And we will see you guys hopefully on our next video like this. I don't know what it's called. It could be a podcast. We could use a suggestion of what to call it. So we'll see you guys next time.
See you.